All right, thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm Spencer Ziegler. I'll be the host today, and Serena Halstead is going to be talking about open response items in Schoolnet. And since we have a small group, feel free to unmute your microphone and just chat if you have any questions or comments as we're going through. Um, so we're really looking at kind of two main objectives today. One, just the ability to define what an open response item is and explain why it's beneficial, and then digging deep in how to create, administer, and score these items in Schoolnet. So that's our focus. So open response item, kind of a binary in the sense, the opposite of closed, where students going to be providing more information in writing or whatever it might be. If we can chat, either you can put it in the chat or you can unmute and just share. Why are open response items important to include in assessments, would you say? Yeah, deeper depth of knowledge was entered in the chat. I think that's 100%. If things can be broken down to just a binary yes, right, then it's not going to be able to really climb up to that level 3, 4, 5 depth of knowledge. Anyone else? And DRA folks, you guys can chime in too if you'd like. So we got another response. Allows students to share skills you might not see in a multiple choice item. Yeah, exactly. And that kind of hits on these two. These aren't the only two responses, but the two that we were thinking about, that higher depth of knowledge and those cognitive skills. You can think of Bloom's and depth of knowledge, if you will. And in other words, it allows us to assess more of the standards. Because if we're only assessing some of the standards, then we're not really doing our job. So open response items can be really beneficial, but they can be a little bit more complicated to work into our assessments. So we're going to talk today about how to do so with Schoolnet. And because there's any number of ways you can do assessments, but Schoolnet offers a couple of advantages. One of which being that it features a robust bank of standards aligned questions that you can pull from, so ones that have been vetted. So that could be helpful because sometimes you just grab a question online. It might sound cool. But is it really addressing the standards? Not sure. The other thing is that Schoolnet is going to pair with Power Schools, so the scores are going to be automatically pulled into the gradebook. So that can help with just, there's so much on teachers' plates these days. So if that's one less thing, that can be beneficial. And I'll hand it over to Serena here.
Thank you, Spencer. So as I continue on, just the quick idea about our open response. So when you're thinking about creating open response, here are some best practices, and I'm sure you will have your own best practices. But one of the first thing that you want to do, you want to ensure that you really understand what the standard requires. And that understanding is not just for you as a teacher on the grade level or you, the IF, but you want to make sure that the teachers who are creating these open response, they are also fully knowledgeable of what the standards require, right? So you want to make sure that everybody on that grade level has some shared understanding when you're going to be writing those open response items. Another thing you want to do as a best practice is to focus on meaningful content rather than, trivial stuff. You could, if you want the students to recall, for example, it is, I would say, a waste of your time to go and create an open response. You could simply go and grab an item from the item bank that focuses on the lower levels recall, right? But if you're going to be creating an open response item, you want it to be where you're assessing maybe even multiple standards, or you want to make sure that it's hitting on those higher levels of thinking, right? And then last but not least, so say that you and your team has created this open response item. One of the things that you want to do is give it to all the teachers on that grade level, have them read it over, have them review it. And if you really want to know how well that open response will go, I would say give it to a couple of the students and have them take it and look at their response. If you're looking at the student's response and you're realizing that, well, the student did not address the standard I was trying to assess, then definitely you want to go back and revise that open response item to make sure that the students are giving that response based on the standards that you're trying to assess. So when you're thinking about creating an open response item, it goes through multiple processes. And you have to keep that in mind, right? Write it, edit it, review it, revise it with your students. And if it looks good, then it's time for you to open it up to all of your students who you want to take this assessment, this open response item in the assessment. Spencer, could you go on for me? So I have went ahead and I've created some videos in regards to how you can do open response item. The videos I have here, I have one called create and schedule an open response item as a test. I also have one on create and attach a rubric with an open response item. And Spencer is putting that bit.ly in so you can see that playlist with all of these videos. And then another one on scoring and then one for students accessing. Spencer, could you go on? So in this video, like I said, you're going to have this where you can go back and listen to it, because if I try to explain all of this to you, it would be too much for you to digest. So the videos are there. So I'm going to play just the first part of this one that says creating an open response item. And before I play this one, I want you to keep two things in mind. When you're creating an open response, you could create one where you do not attach a rubric to it. Okay, so not all of your open response item needs to have a rubric to it. Now, you can also create one where you attach a rubric, and I would think of, attaching a rubric. Say that you're going to give this open response test where other teachers want to give this open response test to their student. So you have this rubric that all of you have collaborated on, and so you would then push it, you would make all the teachers do a copy of this, and so they can give it to their students. So Spencer is going to play this the first part up to about maybe 5 minutes, and then I'm going to go on giving you some more information on it. Go ahead, Spencer. Thank you. And if you're not hearing it, please let us know.
Welcome everyone. Today I will be showing you how to create and schedule an open response item as a test in Schoolnet. If you're watching this presentation but do not know how to access Schoolnet, please see the presentation Accessing Schoolnet. Now let us begin to create an open response item. Here, I have already logged into the Schoolnet platform. First, go to the blue column on the left-hand side of the screen and look for the tab Assessments. Click on it. Under the Assessments tab, look for Item, Rubrics, and Passages. Click on Create. A box will appear showing you all the item types that are available in Schoolnet. Select Open Response. You are now taken to a page where you will create your open response item. Now take a moment to look at the entire page. I like to look at this page as a page with banners, and within each banner there are activities for me to complete. For example, here is banner 1, banner 2, and so on. Let's begin with the first banner. For this open response item I'm about to create, I have found an already created performance task in CMAP for 6th grade that I would like to use. Your open response items do not have to be a performance task. Just keep in mind whenever you decide to create an open response, this item type is best suited for students to demonstrate more depth of knowledge. Students can demonstrate more complex cognitive behaviors, such as comparing, analyzing, and applying. The open response I'm creating comes from the strand Earth and Environmental Science. Whenever I'm creating an item, I like to type my information first in a Word or Google Doc, then copy and paste the information in Schoolnet. But it's up to you. You can begin typing your information right away in the question content box in Schoolnet. Now let us create our open response item in Schoolnet. I'll begin by selecting the subject. And for this performance task, It's from Life and Physical Science. For the grade, it's 6th grade. And for standard, it comes from Earth and Environmental Science, Earth System, Structure, and Processes. Continue clicking on the arrows to expand and see the clarifying objectives. Here, I am selecting 6E 2.1 and 6E 2.2. Notice the OR Select rubric. I will show you how to create an open response item and attach a rubric to it in another presentation. Let us continue to our next banner, Open Response. In this box, you will type the content of your question. I am now going to navigate to my Word doc. I will copy and paste the task from the Word doc into the question content box in Schoolnet. You can edit your content here by using these tools below. Now we're at the Online Students Response banner. The response type is written and the language is English. For now, I will keep the text editor as simple. The more you become familiar with using the Schoolnet platform to create different item types, you will realize not all options you will need to work on. For this open response, I will be scoring it out of 10. For exemplars, you can upload a text file or a picture. Your next banner, standard alignment. I've already selected the standard. Notice the two standards that I have selected are shown here. Our next banner, tools and manipulatives. The open response I'm preparing is for students to create a story. I do not need to select any tools and manipulatives for this. You can also add teacher instructions for using these. And then your last banner, you can preview the test or you can save it to your test bank. If you want to see what students will see, click on Preview. For now, I'm going to save to bank. Now I have 3 banks, a personal bank and 2 other banks that I have created. You can create as many banks as you would like. For you to create a bank, simply click on Create. For now, I will be adding this open response in 6th grade open response item bank. Now click on Save to Bank. Your open response item is now ready, as shown here in the item detail. To the right of the item detail page, you can see the information you included when creating the item. You can see, for example, the name of the bank where the item is stored, the subject, the standard you have included, and more. On this page, you have the option to edit the open response, make a copy of it, preview, add to test, or delete it. For now, I'm going to be adding to test because I will be using the open response to create a test for students. Click on Add to Test. On this page, you have the option to either add that open response item you have created to a test you have already made, or you can choose to create a new test with it. I'm going to be creating a new test. On this page, I will be creating the test for students to take online. You will need to fill out all the information in this section.
Okay,
Let's
Spencer,
begin
you
by
can go ahead
giving
and
the
pause
test
for
a
now.
name.
Thank you, Spencer. So as you're watching, that presentation shows you how to create it. And then if you continue on listening to it, it will show you now how to take it and turn it into a test so students can take the test online, or you can also print out this open response for them but ideally you're creating something in Schoolnet, you would definitely want to give it online. So in a next presentation here that I have now shown you how to create and attach a rubric. So in the first one, I showed you where I'm not attaching a rubric, but in this one, I'm attaching a rubric. So it's a little more steps involved, like you're taking like a different route to make this open response item. So this video shows you how to do that. And once you're finished creating that rubric, so this will walk you through creating the rubric and then attaching the rubric to your open response. Go on, Spencer. Now, after you have created your open response item and you've turned it into a test, all of that, say your students have taken it. Now, this video right here, it shows you scoring an open response test. It shows you how to go back into Schoolnet and actually pull up your open response that your students have submitted, and it shows you how to score it. So that, and then pay close attention to this one, because a lot of times we create a test online, but not necessarily know where in Schoolnet to go and actually score it. So this video walks you through how to find your students' response to their open response question once you have had them completed it online. And then the next video, so some teachers knows how to create a test online, but not necessarily know what their students see and what their students should be doing. And I'm going to suggest that even though you might know how now to create an open response item and you know how to schedule it, because that's what the previous videos have done for you, your students, keep in mind that they're not familiar with the Schoolnet platform. So my suggestion to you before you go and say to students, oh, students, I've created a test for you in Schoolnet. You want to at least spend a little time, show your students how to navigate the platform to get to the test that they're about to do. And so feel free, if you want, you can always show your students this video, show them this is how you get into the platform and do your test. Go on, Spencer. So at this time, I'm going to ask if you have any questions in regard to creating open response. I'm going to take those questions first, and then later on, if you're not having any more questions on open response, I will open it up for any other questions you have in regards to Schoolnet. So I realize it's just a few of us here, so feel free to unmute yourself and then you can ask the questions. And there's no questions off limit, just ask. The Schoolnet platform, it's maybe new to some of you, maybe some of you have been using it already. So just feel free to ask what you want to ask about it.
Is there a way to, can Schoolnet be utilized with Google Classroom?
So I've not used Schoolnet like merge both, but I know for Canvas, definitely you can put your Schoolnet item into the Canvas platform, but I've never tried it with the Google Classroom.
And you wouldn't be able to like embed it directly in, but you can't with really anything with Google Classroom. But Serena, can you link to an assessment? So could there be an assignment in Google Classroom where you essentially kind of link and say, okay, take this in Schoolnet?
Yes, you can. Yes.
Okay, so then that would work. So if
Right.
Google Classroom is the primary LMS, you can just direct them to Schoolnet to take the assessment, because Google quizzes are a bit more limited than what you can do in Schoolnet, and they're not going to have that standard alignment. So you can still be using the LMS.
Thank you, Spencer. Now, going on in regards to the videos that are there. So one of the things you want to keep in mind is that the open response item type, like I said, you want to create those with your the teachers, talk about it, make sure that you understand the standards. Schoolnet, to me, I would say it's pretty simple, pretty easy to use. The more you start creating and practicing using it, you realize that even though the video might be a 16-minute video, by the time you actually start doing it yourself, you realize that, oh, this is easy. I can get these done very quickly. So don't be scared by the length of the videos that you're seeing, but the videos are there for you to just, replay. How do I do this again? That's basically what those are for.
And if you think of other areas that you think it would be helpful to have an instructional video, just let us know. Like for instance, Serena, maybe like working with an LMS might be a helpful one for us to add eventually down the line.
Right. And also we have a Canvas course. So if you go to assessment in Learning Central, there's a Schoolnet course. I'm going to be putting these videos into that Canvas course, but feel free if there's another presentation that you would like. Sometimes teachers might maybe want to know about co-authoring, and then you find that, you know, going into a school and teaching one group of teachers how to do co-authoring, might as well I do a video so that whenever you ask me, the video is right there. So if there's a need for something that you have in Schoolnet that you want to really know about, just shoot a message. I will do a quick presentation for you, and I'll put it into the Canvas Learning Central course where you can always go back and retrieve it. And also, one of the things I want to say too is that DPI, they too have created videos where you can actually go in and see other presentation. For example, if you want to know how to just create even a simple express test, those videos are there. And I've seen Melissa send a message as well about the DPI mini courses. So they have been doing webinars all along, but now they're doing some mini courses. So you can actually go to that website and find it. And then we also, I believe, we put that information there in our Schoolnet course announcement, where you can actually find the link to the DPI websites where you can find all those mini videos. Are there any more questions? Go ahead, Spencer.
I would just say that the two things that Schoolnet does well, I just want to stress for any open-ended assessment method, be it written response or performance assessment, just to make sure that they are standards aligned. Because sometimes those assessment methods, kids can create something really cool, but that's not actually at the standards that we're trying to measure. And to use rubrics to make sure you're giving transparent and actionable feedback. Those two things sometimes I feel like are skipped when we're working with these kind of assessment methods. So make sure it's tied to the standards and make sure that you're giving systemic and actionable feedback through a rubric.
And one of the things that Spencer mentioned that as well, so when you go to the scoring, so that scoring video that is in this presentation, like I said, I'm going to be putting it also in the Canvas course that we have in Learning Central. But when you go to scoring, you will see that there, as Spencer mentioned, that actionable feedback. When you're actually scoring these open response items, it's not just you putting in the numbers. There's also a section there in that scoring feature where you can actually put your comments for the students, response.
Okay, then I'll say, so our next office hours, and actually our last one, our season finale for the stretch, is on college enrollment trends. I think that's Roger and Heigen, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And you can head to our website that we have linked there, and you can see previous sessions that we've done. We have the recordings linked here if you want to check any of them out, or when we do future ones, because we should be coming back again in the summer or fall. So you can check out that if you would like. Yeah, Serena, anything else?
Well, no, not at this time.
Sorry, I really threw that back on you, unprepared.
Sure, no problem.
So we'll stick around if there are any other questions or comments, but I'm going to stop the recording for the site then. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Spencer.